Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're talking about something kind of like an invisible shield. It's rapidly expanding and becoming absolutely essential for, well, for all of us in our digital lives. We're diving into the global cybersecurity market. And for this, we've looked at some really eye-opening data. It's exclusively from cognitive market research. We want to give you a clear pathway, sort of a shortcut, to understanding the growth and future of this, well, critical industry.
Exactly. And our mission for you today is to really unpack the growth, sure, but also the drivers behind it and the regional differences too, which are fascinating. Where is the spending happening? How is it accelerating? We want you to really grasp the scale, and what it all means, not just for big companies, but for your own digital world.
Okay, let's jump right in then. The overall market numbers, they really paint a picture. So back in 2021, the global cybersecurity market revenue was just over $155 billion.
Right.
Now, fast forward just 4 years at 2025, and the projection, almost $240 billion.
Wow, quite a jump already.
Yeah, but hang on. The projection for 2033 is where it gets, well, staggering. We're looking at $566 billion.
566 billion. That's huge.
It is. And the compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, that's averaging out at over 11%, 11.374%. Be precise. That's more than just steady growth, right? It feels like a real systemic shift. Businesses, governments, they're clearly prioritizing this.
Absolutely. And, those numbers aren't happening in a vacuum. It's really about these powerful forces, all interconnected, reshaping things.
Like what specifically?
Well, first, the obvious one. Cyber threats are just getting more sophisticated. We're talking AI and phishing, complex, state-sponsored attacks. It's escalating.
Right.
Then there's the huge push for digital transformation. Every sector, healthcare, manufacturing, you name it, they're moving online more and more, and that creates, well, new vulnerabilities, new attack surfaces.
Makes sense.
And finally, the big pivot to cloud security. It offers scale, flexibility, sure, but it also brings its own unique challenges, demands fresh investment. So yeah, these aren't just trends, they're fundamental shifts. They demand that stronger shield, as you put it.
That's a great way to think about it. So where is this shield being built the fastest? Let's break it down by region, starting with the current leader,
Okay.
North America. It's consistently been out front, generated over $66 billion back in 2021. And the forecast, it's set to more than triple, hitting around $230 billion by 2033.
Still dominant then.
Very much so. And a huge chunk of that is the United States, of course. Over $55 billion in 2021. Climbing towards over $191 billion by 2033. That's keeping a strong CAGR, nearly 11%. But it's not just the U.S. Canada is significant, too, projected to go from about $5.8 billion to over $22 billion, and Mexico as well, expected to grow from $4.7 billion to nearly $17 billion. It really shows the mature but still evolving digital economies.
Right, a solid base, but still growing fast.
Exactly. Now, here's where the growth story gets, well, really dynamic. North America leads in total spending, yes, but Asia-Pacific, it's surging.
Yeah.
An absolutely phenomenal growth rate.
Ah, okay. This is interesting.
Yeah, it boasts the highest CAGR globally, over 12%, expanding from nearly $38 billion in 2021 to a projected $152.8 billion by 2033.
Wow, that is fast.
It is. Let's break it down a bit. China, set to grow from over $11.5 billion to almost $48 billion. India, an impressive 13.2% CAGR projected, leaping from about $5.6 billion to nearly $25 billion.
13%. Yeah, that's remarkable.
Southeast Asia, too, also strong. Around a 13% CAGR, climbing from $2.6 billion to over $11.3 billion. And you've got other major players. Japan, heading towards almost $27 billion. South Korea, over $12 billion. Oh, and Singapore, worth highlighting. A real digital hub, right?
Definitely.
It's projected to grow from just under $1 billion to over $4.2 billion. That's a CAGR of almost 13% as well.
If we connect this back, the sheer pace of digital adoption in APAC is just fueling this incredible demand. It's fundamentally different from more established markets.
How so?
Well, many of these regions are building out their digital infrastructure now, sometimes leapfrogging older tech completely. So there's this foundational need for strong cybersecurity right from the start, not bolted on later.
Right, built in.
Exactly. It's about securing new economies, huge populations coming online, massive government digitalization projects, and it's all happening incredibly fast. It's not just protecting old stuff, it's building security into the fabric of new digital societies.
That really puts those APAC numbers into perspective. Great insight. Okay, so let's broaden out again. Look at the rest of the world. It shows this is truly a global thing. Europe. The market there is set to climb from nearly $30 billion in 2021 to over $100 billion by 2033. Big economies like Germany, the UK, France, they're leading the way. Germany heading towards $21.7 billion, UK over $13.6 billion, France over $12.7 billion.
Solid growth across the board there, too.
Yeah, and strong growth also in Italy, Spain, Russia, Sweden, all projected for significant expansion. And it's interesting, even smaller digitally savvy nations like Denmark expected to more than triple, from about $1 billion to nearly $3.4 billion. And Luxembourg, too, growing steadily.
Okay. What about other regions?
Right. South America, expected to rise from just over $10 billion in 2021 to nearly $39 billion by 2033.
Another big jump.
Definitely. Brazil's a key driver there, forecast to grow from almost $4 billion to nearly $15 billion. But Argentina and Colombia are also expanding significantly. And the rest of South America together shows a strong CAGR, almost 12%.
Impressive.
Then the Middle East, also seeing substantial increase, expected to go from just over $7 billion in 2021 to nearly $27 billion by 2033. Saudi Arabia growing from about $1.7 billion to over $6.4 billion. The UAE from $1.2 billion to over $5 billion, with each AGR over 12%.
Okay. High growth there as well.
And finally, Africa. The market's projected to increase from around $4.6 billion in 2021 to over $17.3 billion by 2033. Key players there include South Africa, heading from nearly $2 billion towards $7.8 billion, Nigeria expanding to $2.6 billion, and Egypt growing from $1.1 billion to over $4 billion.
So looking at all that, it does raise an important point, doesn't it?
Which is?
That no matter the region, whether it's North America or Africa or APAC, the basic reasons for investing in cybersecurity seem remarkably consistent.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the scale might differ, the specific digital projects, the regulations, but that underlying need to protect data, keep businesses running, secure critical infrastructure, it's universal now.
Because everything's connected.
Exactly. It's the shared global challenge, requires a shared global commitment to digital defense, and one that has to keep evolving constantly.
So bringing it back to the listener, what does all this actually mean for you? Whether you're just curious or maybe preparing for a meeting or just want to stay informed.
Well, these huge numbers, these billions of dollars, they aren't just abstract figures. They really reflect a tangible, growing commitment from governments, from companies everywhere, a commitment to securing our digital infrastructure.
Right.
And think about it, that directly impacts you. It affects your personal data privacy, the security of your online banking, your shopping, but also bigger things like national security, the stability of, well, global commerce. It's really all about building trust, building resilience in our digital lives, making sure that as we connect more, innovate more, we're also protecting more, strengthening that invisible shield around all of us.
Yeah, that's a perfect summary. So the key takeaway is the global cybersecurity market isn't just, growing. It's undergoing this fundamental, massive shift, touching every corner of the globe, driven by this universal need for digital safety.
Exactly. And looking ahead, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Given how fast digital transformation is moving and how threats just keep evolving, what's next? What entirely new frontiers in digital defense, or maybe even offense, might define the next decade, beyond these already impressive projections? Are we going to see completely new types of security emerge, new kinds of cyber battlegrounds? It's definitely something to think about.
A very compelling thought indeed. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the global cybersecurity market. We definitely encourage you to keep exploring this topic. It's crucial and certainly not standing still. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to, well, really getting to grips with the big forces shaping our world. Today, we are diving deep into something that honestly touches pretty much all of us now, the cybersecurity market. Our mission, like always, is simple. Take the complex stuff, boil it down, and give you clear, actionable insights. For this deep dive, we're leaning on a really insightful analysis from Cognitive Market Research. It's focused on cybersecurity market dynamics and future trends. So the goal for you today, to walk away understanding not just what's happening, but, why this industry is blowing up, what the big roadblocks are, and some of the, frankly, groundbreaking trends changing digital defense.
Yeah, and it's so important to grasp how much things have changed. I mean, the threat landscape, it's transformed. We're not talking about simple digital graffiti anymore, not minor nuisances. We're facing these incredibly sophisticated attacks that can, literally shut down entire organizations, disrupt critical services, impact national security even. It's a profound evolution. Really needs a closer look.
It really does feel like a digital battlefield, doesn't it? And it changes so fast. Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start with what's actually fueling all this massive growth in the market. And I think, you might be surprised by just how big and organized these threats have become. Our sources really point to one massive driver, just the relentless surge in cyber attacks, nonstop. We're talking everything from huge ransomware campaigns, those really clever phishing schemes, to those, super sneaky advanced persistent threats, APTs, where attackers just sit inside networks for ages, undetected. What's really key here, I think, is understanding it's not just about throwing more money at the problem. It's fundamentally shifting security, moving from just reacting, patch and pray, to being proactive, using intelligence to actually anticipate threats. The core insight really is, if your security isn't thinking ahead, it's already falling behind.
Absolutely. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, you've got this ongoing wave of digital transformation, cloud adoption. Businesses are moving operations, data, everything to the cloud. They're embracing remote work. And as they do that, their attack surface, it just gets wider, dramatically wider. Think about it like this. Every new user, right? Every cloud service, every single remote device, it's another potential door for attackers. So tools like identity access management, IAM, basically making sure only the right people access the right stuff. They're crucial now. And zero trust architectures, cloud security posture management. These aren't optional extras anymore. They're absolutely essential. This whole shift to hybrid environments, it's created this pervasive need, a need for cybersecurity frameworks that can scale, that are integrated across every single sector, finance, healthcare, you name it.
And it's not just about defense against attacks or adapting to new tech. There's also the regulatory side. These stringent global data privacy rules are playing a huge role, a compelling one.
Definitely.
You've got GDPR in Europe, CCPA in California, HIPAA here in the U.S. for healthcare. These aren't just guidelines. They've made strong cybersecurity a legal requirement. Companies face massive fines, not to mention the reputational damage if they mess up and fail to secure sensitive info. So that legal pressure, it's directly speeding up the adoption of more sophisticated security solutions all over the world.
Which brings up a good point, though. While the market's growing, the opportunities are huge, there are also some pretty significant hurdles. A key restraint, honestly, is just the cost. The high cost of deploying and then maintaining these advanced solutions. Things like SIEM platforms, that's security information and event management, pulls in security data from everywhere, and top-end firewalls, endpoint detection tools, they require serious financial investment, and that's just to get them installed. Then you've got ongoing costs for updates, patches, and the specialized people you need to actually run them. This can be a real burden, especially for, say, startups or those small to medium-sized businesses. They often just struggle to afford that kind of full-scale protection.
Right, and that financial barrier you mentioned, it often links directly to another critical problem.
Okay.
The global shortage of cybersecurity talent.
That's a huge one.
Roles like ethical hackers, security analysts, CISOs, chief information security officers, the top security people, they're in incredibly high demand.
Yeah.
But there just aren't enough qualified people to fill the jobs. Extremely short supply. And this talent gap, it's not just an inconvenience. It can actively hold up vital security projects. It can leave systems vulnerable for longer. And sadly, it significantly bumps up the risk of breaches, even for companies that do have the budget. So does that high barrier to entry potentially create a kind of two-tiered security world, where only the big players can afford really solid protection, leaving smaller firms more exposed?
It absolutely does. Yeah, that's a real concern. And that brings us to another big challenge. Trying to integrate these modern security tools with older legacy systems, outdated stuff. Lots of organizations, they still rely on older infrastructure, stuff that just wasn't built with today's sophisticated threats in mind. So trying to weave cutting-edge security into those environments, it often leads to gaps, security holes, or it slows down operations, or sometimes the implementation just fails completely. It's kind of like trying to put a Formula One engine into a vintage car. Sometimes the parts just don't fit together right, and you actually end up creating new weak spots.
Yeah, that makes sense. But even with these challenges, these restraints, like what's really striking are some of the trends emerging. Some groundbreaking stuff.
Yeah.
First off, the way artificial intelligence and machine learning are being adopted, It's absolutely revolutionizing threat detection.
It really is.
These technologies, they're not just faster. They let companies spot threats, react to them in ways humans just physically can't, using like predictive analytics, tracking behavior patterns, often with very little human input needed. This is especially valuable in industries drowning in data, where the sheer volume of potential alerts is just overwhelming.
And another really interesting development, I think, is the rise of the zero trust security model. It's fundamentally changing how companies think about defense. Instead of the old way assuming everything inside the network is safe once you get past the firewall, zero trust works on a different principle. It's basically never trust, always verify every single access request. The real shift here isn't just technical, it's a whole paradigm shift. Moving away from just guarding the perimeter to treating every single access point, every user, every device as potentially risky until proven otherwise. The key takeaway, is that in today's world, with remote work and cloud everywhere, trust isn't just granted anymore, it has to be earned continuously, no matter where you are.
Yeah. And finally, it may be one of the most critical developments with really profound implications. It has to be the growing focus on cybersecurity for critical infrastructure.
Hugely important.
We're talking about the absolute backbone of society, right?
Yeah.
Energy grids, water treatment plants, transportation networks, healthcare systems.
These are now top targets. High priority targets for cyber espionage,
Actually,
even sabotage, often backed by state actors, which is pretty scary. I mean, just imagine a coordinated attack taking out a city's power grid or its water supply. So in response, governments, private companies, they're pouring money into specialized cybersecurity. Systems designed for industrial control systems, the things that manage physical processes and SCADA networks, used for remote monitoring, the very guts of these vital services. This is really driving a whole new wave of innovation in the cybersecurity sector itself.
So, okay, to kind of wrap things up here, this deep dive into the cybersecurity market, drawing on that cognitive market research analysis, it really hammers home just how complex and dynamic this whole industry is. We've looked at the powerful forces driving growth, that relentless surge in attacks, the massive digital shift, those strict regulations.
Yes, divers are clear.
But we also unpacked the significant hurdles, didn't we? The high costs, that persistent talent gap, the tricky business of dealing with old legacy systems. And then we touched on those really revolutionary trends, AI and machine learning, changing the game for threat detection, the rise of zero-trust thinking, and that critical growing focus on protecting our infrastructure.
It's definitely clear that the future here holds both significant challenges, but also just vast opportunities. And understanding these dynamics, it's crucial because this knowledge is most valuable when you see it in the broader context. It helps us all navigate this complex digital world a bit better.
Right. So what does this all actually mean for you listening right now, given that we increasingly hear our digital world described as a digital battlefield? I mean, with state actors targeting vital infrastructure, these super sophisticated attacks becoming more common, what does this constant evolution of the cybersecurity market imply for your own personal digital defenses, your own security posture? And maybe, thinking bigger, what collective responsibility do we all share in navigating this kind of ever-unfolding digital arms race? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We really encourage you to reflect on these insights and what they mean for you personally.